Oh, I like the music.
I know.
Chill out music.
I'm gonna give everybody a few more minutes to log on because I'm sure most people are like me and running this life behind. Is everybody staying warm? Did everybody get to work from home again today? No. I was at work yesterday too. I don't know how I made it down my road, but I did. I had to be very strategic about leaving my road because I knew that if I stopped, I wouldn't be able to keep going. So I had to make sure no cars were coming, and I just went. I went across 41 hoping to survive, and I did.
You went to work yesterday and today?
Yeah. Yeah. I knew that we would have probably minimal staff. I knew we'd have a lot of call-ins. So I went ahead and came in yesterday.
Yeah. We got to work from home yesterday, but we were back at work today. But I did come home for this, to do this from home instead of in the office.
I thought about it since I forgot my laptop at home, but time got away from me and I was worried that I would be late if I tried to go home.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and it's probably just a good thing that we're used to working virtually now. I mean, everybody's gotten used to it. So with all the snow, it was nothing since everybody's used to it.
That's what I told the kids, like, say goodbye to snow days.
Which is sad. Like I remember being so excited, like watching the 2-hour delay and the snow days across the bottom of the TV. Yeah. I remember like turning the TV on and just having missed your county. So you have to sit there and watch everything scroll by again, just hoping that you're going to get a snow day.
Yeah, that's how I learned the alphabet, that alphabetized thing.
Oh, that's funny.
That feeling. I used to live in Vandenberg, and so it was very close to Vigo, right? And so, it was like when I was in Evansville, it was like every county around us, and the very last one was Vandenberg, and it was always just it was nerve-wracking waiting to the end of that thing.
That's real funny. Ron or Jared, do you guys want to start off the meeting or do you want me to start?
I say you take off with it.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I know we'll probably have some stragglers, but I kind of filtered through here just to make sure most of our presenters are on, and I think I see everybody. I'm Mel Kirshner. I am on the board of directors for Leadership Connect, and then I'm also a director at Harsha Behavioral Center. I've been involved with Leadership Connect for a couple of years now, and then also a couple other committees and organizations around town. So I want to thank everybody for joining us for our mini wellness conference. We thought it was fitting just to kind of do it toward the beginning of the year and not just focus on one particular health or finances, but kind of put everything together just because they all kind of go hand in hand. You want different aspects of your life to be well. I forgot my laptop at home, so hopefully I have something rigged up with my cell phone, and if it falls, hopefully you guys all don't get real dizzy. So if you're not familiar with Leadership Connect, hopefully you are if you've signed up. If you have joined without being a Leadership Connect member, I encourage you to check out our Facebook or our website. So our goal is to provide professional and personal engagement opportunities, and it's been a challenge over the last year, but I think that we've done a pretty good job of getting involved and just working things out, even though everything's been virtual. Something else, and I was planning on putting it in the messages, but since I'm not on my computer, I'll just send out a blast. We have an online store now with merchandise for Leadership Connect. So if anybody that is involved in Leadership Connect wants to purchase like t-shirts or polos. That's something fun. I plan on purchasing some stuff. Again, I want to thank all my presenters that have hopped on today. I will go ahead and introduce the first presenter, and then as each person finishes, I will move on to the next. Everybody has an agenda, so you know who you follow. And I believe LT, I saw you on there, didn't I? You're there. So I'm going to introduce LT is co-owner of the Wellness Box here in Terre Haute. Him and his wife Bonnie own the Wellness Box, and it's located downtown Terre Haute. They've been in business for a couple of years now. They're pretty committed to the community, and that's one of the reasons we asked LT to be on, to kind of talk about just fitness in general and what they do. So LT, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having me. As Mel stated, my name is LT, and my wife Bonnie and I own Wellness Box located at 618 Wabash Avenue. So my topic today is fitness, which is, I guess, suiting since my degree is in exercise science. But I wanted to kind of take a different route today and just talk about, instead of jumping right into fitness and working out, we believe all things starts with the true assessment and an accurate assessment. So as you think about your fitness journey or talk to others in your work environment, or maybe even your employees, you want to talk to them and maybe promote them to get an accurate and a body composition test, and also a exercise VO2 max test. And what does that all mean? So if you followed Wellness Box for a while, you may see and hear about us promoting body composition. So what I like to do right now, if I'm able to, if I can have permission to share my screen.
Jesse should be on that. You should be able to.
Okay, we'll see if we can pull this up here. All right, so can you see a body composition that says in body composition assessment? Thumbs up if you can see that. Okay, good. Okay, so when we're talking about fitness, first thing we want to do is understand our clients' goals and understand we have a true baseline. So for most of us, we use a scale, or for the general population, we use a scale that we've probably had in our bathroom for a really long time to measure our body composition. And sometimes that leads over to our fitness. Most of the time, for most, we're starting on Monday, and our goal is to start this fitness component or begin working out because we have a wedding or we have a vacation, and we may not be in the middle of a pandemic and we can leave our homes, or in the middle of a snowstorm. So we're planning for something. So the fitness is usually related to a goal or an end goal in mind of what you're trying to accomplish because there's a certain event. So what we like to do is focus on assessing an individual and based on their body composition. So we have a true roadmap of what that looks like. For example, here at the top, you see, let me see if I can change the annotations here. Okay, you'll be able to see at the top here, it says body composition analysis, and you see intracellular water, extracellular water, dry lean mass, and body fat mass. So our body composition is obviously made up of several different things. And as you see to the right here, you see where it says weight. Okay, let's see if I can draw anything here. So this part here says weight. And then your weight is composed of all of those things to the left. So lean body mass is fat-free mass. So this is an important number for us to know because we know this is associated with your metabolism and how your metabolic rate is associated with the number of calories that you may be needing to consume to lose or maintain your body composition, or maybe even gain muscle. Okay, so as we look down to the muscle fat analysis, which is the next section down here, you'll be able to see the total weight, go down to the skeletal muscle mass, which is the muscle that's attached to the bone, and then your body fat mass. Now, most of us will look at this and go, wow, I really don't want to know how many pounds of fat I really do have, or I don't want to know anything about this, but this is an important number for us to understand, because what happens in most case scenarios is a person starts their fitness journey. They start working out and they're doing what they're used to doing, which that may be a lot of cardio, a lot of Zumba, whatever it is that they have done in the past. And now they have started their workout regimen. So their skeletal muscle mass may be 103.8 pounds, as you see here. Their body fat mass pounds may be 50.5. So they will not know that unless they're getting an accurate body composition assessment done. And the reason why that's important is, as I scroll down here on the paper, let me exit out of that one. As I scroll down here, we'll want to understand specifically what it looks like to have your body fat percentage number, which on this example is 22%. And we'll want to understand what it looks like to have a idea of total number of body composition history. Let me get the annotations off of here for a second. Now, with that being said, the best thing that we can do is understand the history of what we're measuring. So your body composition, your percentage of body fat, your weight, your lean muscle mass, all those things associated with total weight in general. And to the right of the paper here, you'll see where it says basal metabolic rate. Okay, so it says basal metabolic rate on the right-hand side underneath your segmental fat analysis. Okay, so when we look at that number, highlight that. So when we're looking at that number here, that tells me that this individual burns 2,125 calories at a basal metabolic rate, meaning like if they were laying still for 24 hours out of the day, which most of us have done that probably over the last couple of days, not being able to get out and do much besides shovel snow. So now this gives us as fitness and health and wellness professionals an idea of their metabolic rate and how well their body's burning calories just to stay alive, okay? The next thing you'll see right underneath that is the visceral fat level. That visceral fat level for us is very important. This is something that's associated with our body composition analyzer, and it gives us the idea of the amount of visceral fat surrounding their vital organs, which is directly associated with overall health, as we know, okay? So this is a baseline assessment when someone comes to Wellness Box and wants to begin a fitness journey or weight loss or whatever it is. We want to understand their true body composition, all right? So I'm gonna stop sharing the screen for a second and go to a separate screen here. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do in understanding of fitness, so typically when we go through or we start our exercise, you know, we go with what we know or probably what we see marketed on TV or what our friends have done and maybe had some success. Meaning that on Monday morning, we're probably, well, if it wasn't a pandemic, you may be joining some type of fitness facility or getting on your home exercise equipment to do cardio. And that may be something you love to do in the past, which is great. But however, you know, what really works for your friend or other people or what you may see advertised on TV may not be the best method or best exercise prescription for you. So the next thing we do besides the body composition is we put someone through a VO2 fitness assessment, meaning they're wearing a device on their face. It looks like similar to the mask that we're used to wearing on a daily basis, but for more advanced, of course. And this is something that's been used through a world-renowned Olympic trainers. You know, typically you can only get this done in an exercise lab. And this is used to measure your breath by breath analysis while you're going through a ramp up protocol. Meaning, if I had someone on a treadmill, bike, or a piece of equipment where we are going to increase the intensity over time and to see how their body reacts to burning calories. So for example, this is a report here. So when we're doing this and we're trying to gauge their fitness level at the beginning of their program, we want to measure their metabolic efficiency. So how their body is utilizing fuel during the first beginning of that test. We want to measure their aerobic health. We want to measure their respiratory fitness, their cardio fitness, all the things that are highlighted here, and get an actual score so we can understand how their metabolism is utilizing their fuel to understand more about their fitness level. Okay, so when we utilize these type of things, this is what we want to do to understand how an exercise program should be designed. So what I'll do now is go down. These are all just the outline here. So if I'm traditionally, people will say like, I'm going to do more cardio based on that's what I've done in the past to lose weight. But however, that may not be what your metabolism will need to do to utilize the actual fat burn. Meaning, so for this example, you see day 1 is designed to be HIIT. HIIT is high intensity interval training. Okay, so that's when we're getting your heart rate up to a certain percentage, usually higher than 80 to 85% for a certain period of time. And then there's usually some type of lowering the heart rate for a rest period, and that goes into intervals, of course. Day 2 for this person is strength training. As you know, studies have shown strength training is really important for several different reasons. And usually this is something that traditionally women will stay away from because why? They don't want to get bulky. But strength training has proven to be one of the things that burns tons of calories and is really beneficial to help your body utilize and burn fat as well. Okay, so then you see day 3 HIIT, day 4 strength, day 5 cardio, day 6 is HIIT, and then day 7 is rest. Now, this is the number of days of exercise is associated to what the person has stated that they work out or what their goal is. So for you, that may be only 3 or 4 days. That's all based on the profile that we complete before we do this actual test. So to, I guess, contrary to popular belief, you can see 17% is only cardio. Okay, so HIIT training and resistance training and doing a minimum amount of cardio for this individual is going to help them reach their goal, which is actually weight loss. So in general, their fitness program is actually designed by the assessments that's done to help maximize the amount of fat that they're going to burn while they're doing their exercise. So it's kind of flips things on top of itself to say like, okay, we're not just going to start a fitness program in the traditional sense. What can we do to help maximize your time, burn the most calories, most fat calories, and then that's what we're going to do to help you be successful. Okay. Now, the other thing that I wanted to cover today, just in general, as we know, fitness, in the middle of a pandemic, it's tough for all of us to do what we're used to doing, but this is the new norm. So what are we going to do now? We have to find things that are associated with burning enough calories while being safe and getting our family and others that we are around involved in a safe and effective way. So by doing that, we want to make sure that we utilize anything that we have accessible to us. We want to make sure that we find a local gym, whether it's Wellness Box or others gyms in town that have safe COVID protocols, because as proven through other studies, tons of studies that, a lot of the people, a lot of individuals that have died from COVID have other health related issues that could possibly, been prevented or had a different outcome if individuals may have been a little bit healthier. So this is not something that's new to us in regards to fitness, but this is a baseline. Health and wellness is an absolute key to making sure we have a high quality of life overall. Okay. Any questions for me?
What's your favorite workout, LT? This is Mel. What do you enjoy doing the most?
Well, it would have to be HIIT. It's my type of workout, and that is because I like to do the high interval training. I am not a cardiovascular, get on the treadmill type of person, so I have to be very direct with myself and have that hard conversation of get off your butt, and there's a certain zone. So there's a certain zone that assessment provides for me to say like, okay, LT, you're your fat burning zone is 98 to 114. So traditionally I would go to the gym, and the times I did get myself excited about doing cardio or make myself do it, I would think I would need to be on the treadmill or doing that cardio for 45 minutes at a very high pace. When I got off the treadmill or whatever it was, I was very sweaty, but that's not the case. So by utilizing this type of technology, I can do my HIIT training and then do the cardio in the right zone to burn and maximize fat. But to answer your question, is HIIT training with the TRX.
I wish I was more like you. I think you know just from past experience, I can get on a treadmill and run 5 miles. I would rather run 5 miles than do treadmill. I don't know why. Something ingrained in my brain.
Well, there's a lot that goes with that, right? Endorphins
Yeah.
and everything else that's released when you're actually doing your cardio. So maybe if I got to that level, I would enjoy it a lot more, but I don't get there. But again, I mean, we do what we're used to doing, and sometimes we may need to change things up to maximize our goals or just to switch up our program.
I will let you know too. I hung out with Jessica and Courtney the other day, and they were promoting getting the test. They're promoting your services, so you'd be happy to know that.
Oh, good.
Does anybody else have any questions for LT?
I would also like to just piggyback on that and say that Jared L. also promoted your services to me. I just want to say I think this is a really impressive approach. Somebody like me who tried to work out a couple years ago, who was very uneducated, I gave up pretty quickly. But I was talking to Jared about it, and he was telling me about how your program helps guide people and really is really strategic and exactly what you want. I do have to have a surgery in my near future, but after that, this summer, I will be getting a hold of you to start on that, because I don't even know where to start. And so that's why he said to go to you.
Oh, great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? All right. Well, thanks, LT. It was informative. I agree with Amber. I'm very interested in the testing. I need to do something with my life. If you want to stick around, LT, we'll have questions and networking at the end. But if not, then we'll stay. Yeah, if you're not still here at the end, I'm going to move on to Sarah. Yep, there you are. Sarah James is a dietitian who is going to be presenting a little bit more about nutrition. And then she owns Nutrition to Grow, and then also has taken on a new adventure. I think, was it this last year that you took on Jolly Pines?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of,
Crazy.
yeah, that's fun though. I think that's a fun adventure to do with your family. You're saying no.
It's a lot of work.
I can't even imagine. I'd also like to, LT and Sarah are both ISU graduates that have stuck around Terre Haute. So that was kind of exciting to me. A lot of our presenters are from ISU. So that is near and dear because I went to ISU and stuck around too. So that's something interesting for Leadership Connect. But I will turn it over to you, Sarah.
All right, thanks. I'm going to have you share my screen in a minute too, but I'm going to introduce myself just a little bit. Just a quick, just a service announcement. I got rid of my kids, but I did not get rid of my puppy. So she's laying next to me on the couch, and as soon as she jumps up and starts licking or getting in front of me, I'm just going to say, I'm sorry, and I'll pass the baton. But just to give you a heads up, she's right there. It's kind of like an infant. You want her to nap for, at least 20 minutes. But just a side note, I just want to tell you guys that just in case you popped up. So nutrition, what a big topic. This is something that I got into at an early age. I think I always struggled with trying different things and different diets. And I wanted to be a nurse so bad, but I couldn't take on the responsibilities of the cleaning and the stuff that comes out of somebody's body. So I was at ISU asking, what can I do? And I got talked into being a dietitian. You're in the healthcare setting, you learn all the diagnoses, you get to be part of the team in the medical field, but I can step out if somebody gets sick or has an accident. So it was kind of a win-win for me. I've been doing it now for about 17 years, and I've had quite a bit of experience in a lot of different areas. And I think when you think about dietitians, a lot of people think weight loss, automatically weight loss. If I introduce myself to somebody, they want to know what the best thing is to eat. And so for me at my practice, but really I do all sorts of different things, not just in the office, but nutrition can be really so different for so many different people. And so I think today, when you talk about, like, when I just got asked to do a talk, and this happens to me often, if what do you guys want me to talk about? And they kind of leave it to me, and it's so broad. So what I thought today was, here you guys are all getting together to discuss a little bit about like your finances and your health and your well-being, your stress and your fitness. And I thought, all right, so what would I do? What do these people kind of want? Or maybe what could I help them? And I think it's just getting started. So a big thing when it comes to nutrition is, how can I just get started? So that's what I'm going to talk about today. And I really hope I don't run over on you guys either, because as you can see, I talk and talk and talk. So let's shoot over. Do I have access to get my screen now?
Yeah, I think Jesse is giving you access.
You should.
Yep.
Okay, can you guys see finding your nutrition path? Can you see my PowerPoint? Did I lose you?
Nothing yet.
No, nothing yet. I don't.
Okay, hold on just a second. Okay, let's see. How about now?
It's starting. There it is. We got it.
Okay, you got it? Okay, so I made a quick PowerPoint for you just to kind of walk you through. I entitled it Finding Your Nutrition Path. So we're going to jump into, I kind of went a little bit into this, but nutrition is it's a really hot topic. When I Google searched like just the word nutrition, I came up with over 770 million results. So I think we can all agree that it's a super hot topic. When I asked Google, because who doesn't ask Google everything? I asked Google, what is your top questions? Globally, how to lose weight was the number 7th most asked question. So this is in the globe. It's not just in the USA. And as I said earlier, nutrition can really be applied to differently depending on your situation. So these are some questions that maybe you ask yourself or that I hear. So when you talk about nutrition being so confusing, my husband said when I was talking about this, he said, really, there's just too many options. I mean, there's too many opinions. There's too many, my uncle might tell me that I need to only eat organic and non-GMO products, but my grandfather's saying, eat what you want, and then somebody might pop up and tell us that blueberries are the most important foods to eat and you should eat 3/4 of a cup of them every day. But maybe I have some gut issues and I can't eat blueberries every single day. So what foods can I eat? What foods should I avoid? I wrote what kind of style of eating is right for me. So again, I think it's just that it's just super confusing. I think what we should start doing is looking at, when you talk about nutrition, so think about this, guys. When you think about nutrition, is it just all about our image? Is it just about our body? Or is it more about our health? I think it can be really related to our health and maybe even prevention of certain diseases. I went through and found just from 2019, the top 10 causes of death in the United States. Half of these, the prevention or treatment of these chronic diseases has nutrition related in it. So maybe it's not just for our weight or our physique that we're talking about nutrition, but it could be to prevent chronic diseases or even help treat them if you've already acquired some of them. So you guys ready? Step 1. If you have a pen and paper, I would like you to kind of jot these things down just so you're kind of being a little bit interactive. Think about this. What kind of medical conditions do you have? So I think you need to evaluate your current status. Like, what is your health right now? So do you have anything that you're taking medication for? And if so, write that, why am I taking this medication? So maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's depression, maybe it's diabetes, or maybe it's gut health, or maybe you have some high blood pressure. I hear often people say, well, when I ask what kind of medical conditions do you have, I don't really have anything. And then I'll get to the medications and they'll say, well, I'm taking a lisinopril. All right, so you have high blood pressure. It's just controlled with the medication. So I want you guys to write that down. And then ask yourself about those conditions when you're looking at them. Does the food I eat, is it controlling my condition, or is it making things worse? So I have a lot of gut health people. When I get to talking to them and they tell me about what they're eating, and one of the frustrating things is, I'm eating a lot of things I think I should be consuming. I'm eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, and I'm adding them into my diet, into my day, but it's making my symptoms worse. And so jot that down. Is that something that's a problem for you? What's your current routine like? Think about your day when you wake up all the way till the end of the day when you go to sleep. What does your routine look like? Do you skip meals? Do you tend to wait until the end of the day to have most of your intake? Do you currently look at the nutritional information of what you're eating? That's a big question. And if you don't already log your meals or log your intake, I would really strongly encourage you guys to do that. That's a huge part of getting started. Find an app that you like. I can recommend some, but maybe just using a pen and paper and writing things down. But you really need to look at the whole nutritional content of what you're consuming on a typical day, or really a typical week. Maybe do 7 days to see what you're doing, because that'll really open your eyes to see maybe what you think you're doing versus what you're actually doing, especially because it's not just the one day that causes the problem. It's really the day in, day out kind of routine. So really look at that. Second step, now after looking at all those things, I ask people to look at, or if they're in the office, I might say, okay, I noticed that you do this. I noticed that you're really good at this, but I think you can improve on that. So what do you guys think after looking at your routine? And that might take a little bit of time. You might not be able to get through that today. But when you get through that and you log your meals and you look at and you're evaluating your current status, find yourself the strengths and weaknesses that you have. What are you willing and what are you able to change? So do you, maybe after looking at that, you find that you eat out often. You eat out more than you really actually thought you did. Do you never eat fruit? Do you always, maybe you eat only proteins and you need to work on adding some grains to your diet. Maybe you only eat after 5, which a lot of people have a problem with that. And that's a topic for another day. Do you fall off track on certain days of the week? So after you evaluate that and you think about what you can change, I like to say, give yourself the most bang for your buck. So find the thing that really can probably make the most change in your day or in your routine or in your status to help you get better, to make you work better and be back on track. Sorry, I got distracted. Okay, step 3 is setting. Now you need to set your goals. So when you think about goals, so again, this is something that maybe you want to do right off the bat, but I really think you should probably try to evaluate your situation first and then start preparing a goal. Maybe you've already heard of something, the acronym SMART, but I'm going to go through it real quick with you. When I'm in the office and I'm developing goals with people, we might say, after we go through our evaluation and status and we're kind of looking at your overall health, then I might say, and I would ask you guys to ask yourself the same thing. What really is my goal? Like, is it just for weight loss? Am I really trying to prevent having diabetes because I know it's strong in my family? Do I have blood pressure and I'm on medications and I really like to get off of those? Come up with some sort of kind of like your why. Like, if I'm going to change and if I'm going to do anything with my daily food intake, and I'm going to make changes to my environment at home, then kind of have an idea of why you want to do that. That'll help with your goal setting. But then when you do set a goal, you really have to be specific and you have to be So S is specific. So address the what, why, and how, and in detail. So what is it that you want to change? You need to measure that, have a way to measure that. So it has to be, so an example at the bottom, I said, you find that you really need to eat more vegetables. So you can't just say, I want to eat more vegetables. I want to know, how many vegetables are you going to try to eat? What kind of measurable outcome do you have for that? A is achievable. So only you're in charge of achieving this goal. So make it something that you know you can achieve to get done. Realistic kind of goes alongside of that. So consider your current circumstance. I'll give an example. Maybe you decide that when you look at your eating out problem. So maybe you're saying, I'm eating out way too often. But at home, you're renovating your kitchen, and it's just not really a great time for you to say, I'm gonna eat at home 3 days this week, or maybe I don't know, let's back it up. I'm gonna eat at home 5 days this week, and I'm gonna do this. This is how I'm gonna do it. If your environment is pretty messed up, like your kitchen's not really there, and you can have really great, good motivation to do that. But if your current circumstance doesn't allow you to do it, maybe pick something a little bit different. And then also timely. So you have to attach a time frame to that goal. So tell us how long and what are you going to do and when are you going to get it done? So that example at the bottom, back at needing to eat more vegetables, here's a SMART goal. I'll eat 3 cups of vegetables for 5 days this week. So you guys might say, I'm going to work on eating at home 5 days this week. I'm going to eat my dinner meal at home 5 days this week would be a really good SMART goal. Does anybody have any questions on that? Setting goals? Before I move on, you're good. Okay. So kind of come up with a goal. And then lastly, you really have to make a plan to do it. So let's just go back to that and say, I want to eat three servings of vegetables 5 days a week. Now, how do you actually do that? Well, you have to have a plan. So I need to get to the store. I want to know what vegetables I need to eat. Don't buy everything you see in sight. And then guess what happens? We let it rot. We don't eat it. And then we've wasted money. And then we say, why did I do that? I do this every week. So make your plan conducive to what that goal was that you had. And then you just have to do it. So the hardest part of doing something is just doing it, right? So you just got to make the plan, and you got to do it. I think support is important, especially when you're talking about big health goals, which I guess I should give a little side note there. I don't think you need to I think you can have an end goal, but I also think you need to have intermediate goals. So kind of this is really what I want to get done, but this is how I'm going to do it in these little short increments of time to get that done. But support is important. The only thing I have to say about support is if you're working out with somebody, or if you're doing a specific eating plan and you guys have a plan that you want to follow, then just remember that maybe their path might be a little bit different than yours, and that's okay. So maybe they get to eat 3 cups of leafy greens and you can't because you have a gut health problem. And that's okay. So just keep that in mind. Keep your mind focused on your goals and your path. And then I put on here, remember that each path has a few bumps. So we're probably not going to be perfect the whole way there. We're going to have to navigate through some issues. Maybe you do have a kitchen that gets renovated. So then you have to navigate through that and find a plan and adjust your plan. Routines usually take a couple weeks to kind of get into. So if something changes in your routine, expect that it's going to take a couple weeks to find and navigate and fix that plan too. So again, I think just thinking about the why behind your goals will really help motivate you. So think about why you're doing these changes. What kind of changes can you make realistically? Set yourself like a measurable goal, and then make your plan and just do it. And I think that's it. If anybody has any questions or comments, I'd be happy to go through those.
Well, thanks, Sarah. I really like the measurable goals. I am really bad. I'm sorry, my face keeps getting shut off because my phone's moving. I think it's so simple to say to do that, but like I think most of us just say, I'm gonna start eating more vegetables, or I'm gonna start eating more fruit. And it's so simple to say I'm gonna have 3 cups of vegetables 5 days a week, and you don't really think to set those measurable goals. So I think that's great advice.
Yeah.
I am notorious for just saying I'm gonna start eating more vegetables, and then potato chips are vegetables, right? No.
Yeah, I mean, that's what actually my son said that the other day. No, wait, potatoes are vegetables? Wait, I can have these fries then? These are good?
Just read an
Oh,
article,
kids.
fries are like the worst food ever to eat.
No,
I agree. Does anybody have any questions for Sarah?
There's some in the chat.
Oh,
are
let me get down. Okay, hold on.
One question says, are there particularly unhealthy trends you are seeing in the diet or nutrition world right now?
That's a good question.
It is a really good question. You know, it's funny because I feel like our trends just almost stopped all of a sudden because everything stopped and we all kind of we just were stuck at home. And so I'm not hearing quite as much. I will tell you what I hear still, and I think is starting to make a nice big ramp up is intermittent fasting. So a lot of people have been asking me about that. I've seen it in the media, and maybe it's getting a big marketing push. I'm not sure. But I see intermittent fasting as being one, and the ketogenic diet is still hanging around. I should say ketogenic diet. I should just say keto diet is still kind of hanging around too. I've seen a couple people going back to Whole30. But as far as other trends, I'm actually kind of hopeful that our trending is slowing down just a bit, and we're all starting to eat more just balanced meals. I think the world is becoming better at learning that, hey, there is no magic pill, and following this one specific plan, it may work for a little while, but we need the long-term fix. And that's really what I have always pushed is this is changing your diet is not for a short time thing. It's not to reach that one goal and then you're done. It's really to make changes today that you can stick with going forward. And that weight's not coming back on, or that blood pressure's not coming back up. Again, you guys are going to get me on a tangent here, but I think those are really that's probably the only unhealthy trends I'm seeing is I personally think anything that restricts a lot is an unhealthy trend.
I like it.
I see. What's my view on keto? Do you want me to go over that?
Depends.
How long do I have?
You have about 4 more minutes.
Okay, look, look at this dog just real quick. Can you see her? She's still sleeping. We're good. Okay. So keto diet, it's really interesting. When I started, not when I started, but one thing I did with pediatrics is it's called the ketogenic diet. And it's actually used to help seizures in children. And I've seen it work, and I've been a part of that. And one thing that we learned is even being in a facility, you have to be certified in order to do that. So when the keto diet came out, I mean, it's very similar to Atkins, truthfully. But I really got a little bit shocked that people were actually doing it as much as they were, because it's really restrictive. And as far as your heart health goes, I mean, did you guys go back to if I went back to my PowerPoint, top killer in the United States is heart disease. How do we get heart disease? I can go on about that. But one major component of heart disease is plaque buildup. How do you have plaque buildup? It's from eating high saturated fat foods. What's a ketogenic diet? High saturated fat foods. So for me, when you tell somebody to change your metabolism in a way that it's not really designed to work, I mean, that's not how God made us, truthfully. So we're not really supposed to change our cycle. And in the long term range of that, and I'm trying to shorten my spiel here, is that it will affect your metabolism long term. And so that's what I go back to. I don't think anybody's going to stick to ketogenic diet long enough that it would really injure them that terribly. But I do think that it's not a long-term fix. And so if it's a short-term thing and you're wanting to get some weight off really quickly for some reason or the other, which I was hopeful we're all stopping, we're not going to do that anymore. But if you are, it is going to promote fast weight loss. It will. But a lot of times that's just fluid, that's glucose out of our muscle and our liver. And so that's not really fat loss. If you're not providing yourself with enough fuel, you're probably going to lose muscle mass. How do you keep your metabolism going? More muscle. So you lose your muscle in the realm of losing pounds on a scale, doing a ketogenic diet, you hurt your heart, and then you also long term you're gonna struggle losing weight later.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. Same for you, Sarah. We'll be sticking around at the end if you want to network or talk with anybody else. But if not, completely understand if you need to hop off. I really appreciate your presentation. It kind of was very helpful.
No
It hit
problem.
home.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks. Okay. And then I'm going to introduce Charity next. So Charity is a holistic health coach. And she just recently got her certificate last year. And while getting her certificate, she's also the director of an autism center here in Terre Haute. So I will hand it over to Charity. I think she's going to talk a lot about morning routines, if I remember correctly. Are you still there? Yep, there she is. You're on mute.
There I am.
There
I
you
am.
are.
Hi. So I'm glad to be here today. Mel asked me to speak on self-care. So I chose my favorite form of self-care, which is morning routine. I firmly believe that my morning routine has been a catalyst for changing a lot of habits that I have and getting me on a more healthy path. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that today. I'm going to share my screen. I made a little PowerPoint too. Okay, can you see it? Okay, so I really believe that yes, if you change your morning, you change your life. So let me start by saying I am not a morning person. I am the farthest from it. I have my whole life been waking up 20 to 30 minutes before I needed to be anywhere. When my children were toddlers, I had them trained the same way. We're very function. What do we got to do to get out the door? And if anything goes wrong, well, I'm just going to be late. That's just how it was. I just always saw myself as like, I have bad luck in the morning. I'm just a habitually late person. What can be done? That's just the way it is. It never crossed my mind that maybe it was me and that I needed to get up a little bit earlier. I was just a doomed person is kind of how I always thought that. And then when I got I hit 40s, things started changing a little bit for me. As Mel had said, I'm also the director at Harsha Autism Center, which is a behavior therapy center for children with autism. So I'm also a wife and I have a mom of 2 teenage daughters, and life just started getting really overwhelming for me. I was burnt out at my job. I was depressed. I was constantly tearful, crying. I would every day come to work thinking, okay, today's the day I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to happen. I would call my husband. Okay, what are we going to do when I quit my job? I was figuring out my bills. I just couldn't cope at work. I was irritable. I'd come home. I'd be tired, irritable there as well. I just didn't feel like I was adulting well at all. And I got to the point to where I was frequently thinking, you know, I'm just going to drive away. I don't know where I was going, but I was driving away. And once that hit, I realized that I needed to make some changes. So my mother had wanted me to get on medication, you know, for antidepressants. And I'm not against medication. I just always felt I could do more for myself that I wasn't doing. And so I wanted to give that a try first. So I kind of just immersed myself into the school of Charity and started doing all the things. I started eating cleaner. I started moving my body more. I started reading personal development and kind of just put myself on the list. I made myself a priority every single day. And I started seeing results. I started feeling better. My mind started clearing. My stress started decreasing. And I decided that this was something I wanted to learn a lot more about. So I enrolled. I was already busy, so I decided I'm busy enough. I'm going to go ahead and become a health coach as well. So I joined a program and I got that certificate. And now I kind of I've had such success with it. It's something that I want to teach other women who, all women, but particularly in my age group and working moms, that, you know, life doesn't have to be drudgery, doesn't have to be on autopilot if you choose to work and have children. So now I'm more busy than ever, but I'm also, my stress is less than it has been in probably 20 years. And I attribute it to a lot of the things that I'm doing. And I wanted to do more, but I didn't have time. So I didn't want to put my children, my family second. You know, I wanted to work on me, but I didn't know how to fit this into my day. And I kept hearing about morning routines, and I was against that because I thought there's no way I can't get up in the morning. There's no possible way I can do that. But I just kept hearing about it. And I actually read The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, which is a great book if you want some motivation for the mornings. So I read his book and I thought, all right, I'll give this a try. And I started with 15 minutes. I started up to 30. And now I'm up every morning at 5:30 in the morning, about 2 hours before I need to go anywhere. And it still seems crazy for me to even say that out loud, but I love it. And I will never go back to not being up in the morning. That's how much I love pouring into myself first thing in the morning. And that's why I think you should have a morning routine. I think that we're busy and we don't, if we wait till the end of the day, we won't. I wouldn't do it. I have to take care of myself first, so then I can take care of everybody else to the best that I can. I think the first hour of the day sets the tone for the rest of the day. I do think there's just something magical about being up before everybody else is up, and I'm already successful before I even sometimes am out of my pajamas. It helps me increase my productivity for the rest of the day. It helps me take back control. Those of us that are very schedule driven and our lives are planned by us, for work and our kids, it's something that I can control. I can control what I do during those hours, and I can control what time I get up. It helps me relieve stress. I've developed a lot of healthy habits, and it completely boosts my energy. On the days when I have to rush out the door, my energy and my ability to handle life is completely different than if I have that time for myself. So how I got started, I had to break the snooze habit. I'm a big snoozer. You know, I can snooze for 45 minutes sometimes. And the thing that clicked for me was I had read somewhere, and I wish I could remember where, but about the sleep cycles and how when you go back to sleep for that 5-10 minutes of snooze, it puts you in a different sleep state, that you're more groggy then than if you would have just got up when your alarm went off naturally. And I started doing that, and it is true. I've been doing it for about a year now, and I don't snooze anymore, and I feel a lot better. I believe you should just get up, brush your teeth. If you want a little extra zip, use some Listerine, and water. This is something I've been doing for a while. I used to always go straight to the caffeine, but I learned that our bodies are dehydrated a lot through the night. And so when you add that caffeine on top of it, you're just further dehydrating yourself. So I really try to get in 12 to 24 ounces of water before the caffeine. I'm not saying to give up your caffeine. I'm just saying start with that water first. For me, I think it speeds up. I eat less during the day. I think it speeds up my metabolism, flushes out your toxins. So a few of the things, your morning routine can completely be what you want it to be, but here are a few of the most popular and the things that I do a lot that I have found success in. Affirmations. A lot of people like to state an opinion about yourself that you don't necessarily believe yet, but you want to believe. You know, for me, it was, I can do hard things. I'm an exceptional mom. And some people say those out loud, and some people write those down. Those can also be very powerful. I have a deck of cards that I love that gives me those affirmations, or something to think about in my day, or maybe it's something to think about during a meditation. I enjoy that as well. Vision. This is a new thing I'm doing, and I absolutely love it. So we all have goals, whether they're work related, whether they're personal. if your goal is 6 months from now, a year, 5 years, whatever your goal, your big goal is, write it out. What does that look like? As if you've already reached that goal. What do you look like? What are you thinking about? What do you feel? Who are you around? Where are you at? Write it down, all the tiny details of what life looks like when you meet that goal. And then I write that down. It's about a page long for me. I've got some big goals and I read that every morning. So I start my day, eye on the prize. Whoa. So every day I know, okay, I'm going to do it. This is what I'm going to do today. And I'm thinking about it before I think about anything else. And I also have in my journal, it's called a book of proof. So what am I doing every day to get me a little bit closer to my goals? For me, one of my goals for this year is to be at my healthiest mentally and physically of my adult life. So for my book of proof might be yesterday, and it's usually the last 24 hours. What did I do? Yesterday, I stuck with my meal plan. Yesterday, I worked out. It can be as simple as that. So it's very motivating to see the progress. Okay, I'm doing it. It's going to happen because I am working on it every single day. Not a day goes by that I don't think about that vision and how I'm working towards it. If you're a writer, a lot of people, the mornings are a great time to write. I have some friends that are working on books. That's their quiet time before their kids wake up and things get busy. Or if you just like to journal your thoughts and feelings. Sometimes I'll wake up and my mind is already at work. I'm already thinking about the things that are going to happen through my day, and I'm distracted through my morning routine, and I don't want to be because that's my time. So sometimes I'll do a brain dump, get a piece of paper out, and I'll just write down everything that's on my that I'm thinking of. So either one, I can later on put that on my calendar, or, sometimes it just gets it out of my brain and onto that paper is enough magic right there that I can move on. It has never failed me yet. Let's see. My favorite of my morning routines is a gratitude practice. Every day, I start my day with 3 things that I'm grateful for. And I don't mean the big things. My health, my children, my home, my job. We're all grateful for the big stuff. I think that we all overlook the little stuff. I think that there are blessings all day, every day. We just don't see them because we're tunnel vision. I know that for me, that was the case. I was the drudgery talk, there isn't anything good in my life. Well, there's a lot of good things in my life. I just didn't see them. So this practice helps me see them every day. And mine are ridiculously silly. Like mine might be, I have a teenage daughter. So maybe she said something kind today that's outside of her nature. I might write that down. Or maybe I had an amazing lunch and I'm still thinking about it from yesterday. I'm writing that down. I'm grateful for it. I keep it light. So that's one thing. I've been doing that for about 1.5 years, and I see things all day long that I never noticed before in my life, and it has changed my outlook tremendously. Meditation. I like to meditate. On a work day, I don't spend a lot of time. I spend about 5 to 10 minutes in the morning. I try to do a little bit more on the weekend. I just think that it helps train your brain to be present. I think a lot of times we live in the past or we live in the future, which can cause, anxieties and depressions. And I think when you train your brain to meditate, it's, when stress hits later on in the day, I kind of think of it as my brain says, oh yeah, I remember this. I can handle this. I'm not going to freak out. I had this training this morning. I'm going to be more level-headed about this. I think that it gives me a new perspective. It manages stress. I sleep better. And it doesn't have to be, there are many types of meditation. You can keep it very simple. You don't have to sit cross-legged with your hands together chanting. Some of that's great as well. But if you want to keep it simple, I sit in a chair with my back straight and I breathe in and I breathe out. And I listen and I do that just to get myself calm. I like guided meditations as well. There's a lot of free guided meditations on YouTube to help get started. And from a spiritual point of view, I like the saying that when you pray, you're speaking to God, and when you meditate, God's speaking to you. So I kind of like that. I've came out of many meditations with some new great ideas that I didn't have before. Personal development. I love personal development. I think everybody should be doing it every single day. It helps us learn why we do the things we do. It helps us learn new ways of handling life or a different perspective that you had never heard of before. Makes me more creative. It makes me dream more. There's so many ways to get personal development, whether it's books, audiobooks, podcasts. The only thing, social media is one area that I try not to incorporate in my morning, even if it's positive. Like Facebook, I don't even open that because, it can be a little negative, and maybe I can get a little judgmental if I see something on Facebook and I don't want to start my day being like that. So I don't even open it. One thing I have done, I didn't have Instagram before, so I got that within the last year or so. And then I only fill it with positivity. I only follow people in the health world or spirituality, the things that I'm into that lift me up. No negativity at all. And so sometimes I will look at that. I'd be very careful because I can go down that rabbit hole and then 45 minutes have passed and I don't have time to do any of the other things that I wanted to do. And now my favorite and least favorite part of my morning is exercise. I truly hate exercise. I'm never probably going to be the person that says, I can't wait to break a sweat. I just got to have it. I don't understand the Mel Kirchners of the world, but I want to, I just don't. But I love how it makes me feel. I can spend, I do small workouts. I do 30 minutes or less most days of the week is kind of my philosophy. I started out with just stretching and yoga, and now I do programs now, but just a little bit of working out for me. Yes, I have physical goals that I want to meet, but more than that, it clears my mind, it relieves my stress, it amps my energy up for the whole day. So for me, it's worth doing the thing that I don't love for 30 minutes to have a full day of feeling great. And this picture is one of my favorite YouTubers, Boho Beautiful. If you are into yoga, she has there's a lot of free programs on her site of every different type and time limit. So if you were interested in starting your own morning routine, how do you start? I always suggest just wake up early. 15 minutes. It doesn't have 5 minutes. Start small. Just wake up a little bit earlier than your norm. Don't do anything new. Just be up. Plan a designated spot in your home. That's kind of your spot. I have friends who they like to light a candle and make it be a little zen area. That didn't work for me. I found myself being very tired. So I turn all the lights on in my living room that I don't even normally turn on, but I'm up wide awake with my cat, and we're doing our morning routine. And so I would suggest you just keep adding on. I am at work. I forgot to give that disclaimer. They're going to let you know that if the kids are around. But add a little bit more time each day and add the activities that you like. It took me a while to get into the flow. I kept trying new things. And now, like I said, I'm up 2 hours, and I've been lately thinking, can I get up at 5? Because there's other things that I want to do. So I'm turning into a bit of a lunatic with it, but I love it. It's making me feel great. I hope you all will give it a try. And if you have a morning routine that you like, I'm obsessed with learning about other people's morning routines. So I would love to hear from you about what you do, or if you try any of these things, I'd love to hear how it went. Thank you.
Thanks, Charity. And I will say that Charity got me on board with getting up a little earlier. I don't get up at 5:30, but I do get up earlier. It has made a difference. I feel less stressed from it. So I too do something similar. She also is the one that got me into meditation, which I realize now that my phone moved again, people can't see my face, which I still struggle sometimes with the meditation, but it does make a difference. Does anybody have any questions for Charity?
Charity, you said you weren't a morning person. Are you a night owl?
Yes.
How has this morning, because I hate the mornings. And
Lindsay?
I am a night owl through and through.
Yes, I'm absolutely a night owl. I used to go to bed around, I actually had myself convinced that I only needed about 5 or 6 hours sleep to function. So I would stay up till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. But I don't know, by doing this, I just feel so good all day that I am totally fine with giving up sleep. Now I have a 7-hour rule. I got to be in bed. If I'm going to get up at 5:30, I got to go to bed at 10:30. And if you would have asked me that a year ago, I would have thought you were crazy that I needed those 2 hours. That's my time. That's I hang out with my husband. I watch Netflix. I don't do any of that anymore. And I don't feel like I'm sacrificing anything because of how I feel now that I'm on the other side of it. You know, it's like kind of like you got to pick your me time. It's either late at night watching Netflix and for me snacking, or I have all this that I'm pouring into myself and completely changing my life in a better way. It took a little while. I did feel like a sacrifice in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then something shifted very early on. It didn't take a long time. And I
Good to
still stay up
hear.
late night on the weekends.
You can do it, Lindsay. I know how you are.
Can.
Yeah. I've tried to become a morning person. It's not going well at all. So I'm glad to
Take
hear
it
it's worked
slow.
for you.
Take
Okay.
it very slow.
Anybody else
Thank
have
you.
any questions? Before we move on? I don't see any. I don't think I saw any in the chat either, but Charity, you're more than welcome to stay for the end and network if there are any questions. But if not, I understand if you have to hop off. Thank you. It was very interesting. I'm gonna introduce Jessica Brown next. So Jessica is the Director of Development at Mental Health America of West Central Indiana. So she is going to be talking a little bit about mental health and I think self-care as well, maybe. She is also a graduate of ISU. So there's a big theme with everybody here. Jessica, are you still on?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to turn it over to
Okay, so I do think, Terry, this is perfect to go right after you because my presentation is why self-care is essential. And I was going to start out by saying one thing that we talk about at work, we use the acronym FLY, which has been used before, but it stands for First Love Yourself. Because as you mentioned and hit multiple times, when you take care of yourself daily, you are a better caretaker for others. It's just that simple. I mean, you are a better coworker, a better partner, a better parent, a better friend, because you are taking time for yourself as well. It's essential for a quality life. So I'm also going to share my screen and pull up my presentation. But I want to, before I get really deep into this, there is a trigger warning here. Some of this information is sensitive. It may deeply resonate with some of you like it does for me. Mental health is a very deep passion of mine it started personally, now through professional development. I can speak upon it for hours, but I originally got into it to understand myself and my brain. And so I hope that even though some of this stuff is dark and sad, it's real, it's raw. And I hope that by the end of it, you understand that it's okay to not be okay and that we all deserve help when we need it. And it's there and available. And that it's very, very courageous to get help. It is, unfortunately, mental health has a negative stigma. People are coined as crazy or weak. I was for a while in my own family until I was able to help educate them once I was got my professional help and then started working in the professional experience part of it. So with that being said, I will go ahead and get started. And I have to bring some comedy to it because again, the topics are sad. So if I say anything in there that sounds really off, it's just how I cope. Comedy. Let's see, view. Okay. So there's a lot of data. I'm a data-driven person. I do a lot of reading and research. For some of you that know me, you know that. I won't read all of it for lack of time, but nearly 1 in 5 adults will have a diagnosable mental health condition in any given year. A lot of data is showing now 1 in 4. All of this data, almost all of this data is from Mental Health America National, the national not-for-profit. So, but all this data is out there and searchable and you can find it and read more in depth yourself. There's a lot of different, areas and categories to go into youth and minorities and, all these things that are really important. But as a general You know, general data, nearly 1 in 5 Americans will have it. 46% of those Americans will meet the criteria for the mental health condition sometime in their life, and half of those people will develop their conditions by the age of 14. Youth is a very serious thing, you know, that's always been going, but I feel like more so lately, a lot of prevention has been being talked about, especially with the pandemic. Suicide prevention is being talked about, youth prevention over recovery. So I'm hoping to see some changes in some of these numbers in the, you know, far long term. But I want to make a point that some people are born with mental illnesses that are not necessarily curable, but that are 100% treatable. And others develop mental illnesses through life traumas. And I'll get a little bit deeper into that here in a moment. But I think a lot of people still believe to this day that mental health and mental illness is not a thing. But there are personality disorders like bipolar and schizophrenia. 1 in 100 people have schizophrenia. It's actually a pretty common thing. And that is something that you are born with. And that, again, like I said, is not curable, but is treatable. And unfortunately, people judge people with schizophrenia, but like I said, it's a common thing. And I think with time, the stigmas are starting to dissipate. One thing that I want to mention is a lot of people that die by suicide, people refer to it as commit suicide. The word commit is a word that brings on a lot of negative stigma because it sounds like they did a crime or an unforgivable sin. When somebody is completes a suicide, they ultimately died by PTSD, trauma, a personality disorder, addiction. These are all mental illnesses, and the brain was terminally sick. It was in stage 4 of mental illness disease. So that person did not commit a crime. They died by a serious mental illness. And I'll talk more about that again as we go. But I wanted to focus for a moment on the state of Indiana itself. Indiana is ranked 44th out of the 51 states in prevalence of adult mental illness. And what that really comes down to is, unfortunately, the state of Indiana is under resourced, we're underfunded, we're understaffed, we're underpaid when it comes to mental health overall in general. A term I like to mention is integrated health. I feel like is our future. I hope one day it will be everywhere. One example I can give to you is Wabash Valley Professionals. They have physical health and mental health under the same roof, which I think is really incredible because when you walk in there, you don't have this feeling. It's very organic. If you're bringing up the fact that you want to see a therapist and you want to talk to your general doctor about that, it's like super natural and it goes fluently and comfortably. I personally go there, and so I enjoy that integrated health under one roof. I can see my doctor for my asthma and my inhaler and my therapist in the same day, and it just feels very comfortable. But again, there's just not a lot of resources and not a lot of funding, and it's hard. People in mental health are paid different, the same, with the same credentials, things like that. And that's something for a whole nother day that I can talk about. But anyways, that computes into almost 21% of Hoosiers, over 1 million people in Indiana that have a mental illness. So it's definitely, it's a thing. As far as treatment goes, the latest data says that 56% of adults with mental illness did not receive any mental health treatment. That's equals over 24 million people in America that didn't receive help. Now this data, I apologize, but this is 2019. I have not updated this PowerPoint for 2021 to reflect 2020's data. But a lot of that mental health data comes out really late anyways, just because it's not as much of as a priority as other things in relations to data. But when you think about a lot of people suffer in silence, not enough of us are fighting in the open because of the stigma that I keep mentioning. And it's unfortunate because it doesn't even accurately, then the data isn't even accurately representing our country and how unified we really are, to this degree that, you know, we are all in this together and it's okay to not be okay. And a couple of the things that I say, I'm going to repeat to really drive the point home, but our brain is an organ. It is physical health. It's all overall wellness. Mental health, physical health is overall wellness for a quality lifestyle. When you have, sometimes when you're having, you know, a mental breakdown and you may not even realize it, we have physical responses. They're all physical triggers. You know, you have anxiety attacks. So you may have a poor appetite. You may have headaches or back aches. You may just, you know, break out in the sweats. A lot of times people that they don't even realize that they're having, it has to do with their brain. They don't understand what's going on because it's all connected, literally from head to toe. And all the people on here that know wellness know what I'm talking about. You've got to take care of your brain to take care of the rest of your body. It's the control panel to, you know, our entire body. One of MHA's, the national MHA's philosophy is before stage 4. We take care of all of our other organs before to stage 4 through prevention. But unfortunately, as humans as a whole, we suppress our brain, we suppress things and we bury things until they come out and we project our emotions, you know, the way we didn't mean to on people we didn't mean to, or we turn to substance abuse. And addiction's a whole nother, you know, realm or topic of mental health, because people will say they could, if they just quit drinking or if they just quit doing drugs. You know, I'm here to tell you, as you know, from my personal experiences, you have to get to the root of the problem. Otherwise, substance use and abuse, you'll fall right back into that. And, you know, it's just important to get to the core of what is really, really bothering you and learn how to cope with it. And to the right there are some common mental illnesses. That's by no means not even a fraction of all of them out there, but a lot of those are, you know, things that we talk about. You've probably all heard at least all of those. And I want to say something that changed my life with therapy is that I am responsible for my happiness, not my husband, not my father, you know, not my coworkers or my boss. Ultimately, I am responsible for my happiness. When I finally understood that and took control of my life, as other people mentioned in here, some of those things you can do to take control of your life, it really is life changing. I'm a walking example of understanding that my brain is an organ, I'm responsible for it. And those things right there move mountains for me. So, you know, take those, if you get anything from this presentation, to remember that it's okay to not be okay, but that you've got to take control. That, you know, it's hard enough for us to survive day by day, let alone expecting other people to do that for us. One option, I like to point this out, is just there are tools to start. If you're not really sure, if you think maybe you should take on a therapist, or, you know, medication again is not for everybody. I would say for a personality disorder like schizophrenia or something bipolar, where you have a chemical imbalance that you were born with that is out of your control, yes, treatment and medication is essential to live a quality life. But if you're battling with a mental illness that is curable, medication isn't always the way. And so this is just a nice tool. You can find it on our website, or you can go to MHA National, and it's just a at-home anonymous kind of screening to kind of see where you're at if you're questioning something, you know, yourself, but don't necessarily want to make that call. I do want to talk about suicide for a quick moment. I think I'm down to my last few minutes, but this is very important to me. I did attempt suicide a few years ago, and I am very fortunate to be here today. When I woke up in the hospital and saw my dad adopted me later in life, and he gave me a second chance. And I knew in that moment that I had to change my lifestyle. And so anyways, that's why I got into mental health. And so I want to take a moment to talk about suicide. First, I'm going to look at these national numbers just to show you. This one right here in the middle, I hope you guys can see that. Suicide is the second leading cause of death in America from the ages of 10 to 34 years old. Nobody talks about that. And I mean, that is just mind blowing. My nephew actually attempted suicide at 8 years old, tried to hang himself. His parents got divorced and he blamed himself. It is very, very common. And I want to also show you this number, this 48,000 people. However, 1.4 million attempts. This is because a lot of people that died by suicide, it was not accurately recorded. It was recorded as an overdose or an accident like a car wreck, or it was covered up because there's corruption in every single system. I'm just going to say that almost every system in America is broken and corrupt. But that's something I have to cope with. I could talk about that for hours too. I have to do my daily coping skills on that. But it's unfortunate because it skews the data results, because people are embarrassed of having that written down by a coroner. And so these attempts and the actual completions don't seem to be paralleled, but that's because of that gap of actually how it's being recorded. And then I want to mention, here, it's the 10th leading cause, which is well above homicide. And I can get on a whole tangent about that as well with, where as our country as a whole, where our law enforcement, first responders, the gap in their mental health training as well. But, again, different day. But here in Indiana, here's a couple figures that I just wanted to point out. It costs millions and trillions of dollars to clean up suicides when we could be putting that money into prevention and saving thousands of lives. Approximately 132 people die a day by suicide. It just baffles me that we don't talk about this stuff. But let's see. I don't know how to get out of this. How do I stop screen? Oh, stop video.
Should be a button, and you have just another minute here, Jessica.
Pause share? No, stop share.
Yep.
Okay. So again, I can go on and on about this stuff. There was another slide that I had kind of talking about how medication isn't always the answer. It is for some people. It can be very temporary too. The goal is to hopefully get off of it if you can, but there are many, many coping mechanisms. And my kind of rule of thumb, I have an imaginary fanny pack, and I think you should have 2 or 3 persons, 2 or 3 places, and 2 or 3 things, because one of my go-to people is my dad, but he's not always readily available. So I can't always call him. One of my things I like to do is go fishing, but I will be damned if you catch me fishing in the winter. So that cuts out, several months. I do not ice fish, too cold. Nope, no thanks. So there goes one of my things. So I always have these imaginary tools, and every morning I kind of get myself mentally prepared, like Charity mentioned, and I think Danielle will definitely mention. I've been lucky enough to catch one of her presentations already. It's incredible. But it's just really important to be conscious every day, to think about yourself and what triggers you, and recognize when you're not okay. And it's okay to not be okay. You're not alone. All of us go through it. And take care of yourself before it gets so far gone that you feel so lost, because there's people here that care about you. So again, I can talk about it for hours. If you have questions, I'm here. If you have personal questions later, I'm here. I know that this stuff's triggering and you may need some time to process it, but mental health is health. And I appreciate you guys asking me to speak upon it because it's all overall wellness. We're all working together for the same thing, right? Quality lifestyle. So thanks.
Jessica, I appreciate your passion, and I knew coming into this that you are so passionate that I would probably have to cut you off. I was prepared. I knew that you could talk on the subject all day. And that's why I have buffer time at the end, because I wasn't sure who would go over and who wouldn't. So not a big deal. I'll wait. I'm sure that people probably do have questions, but I'm going to have them wait till the end that way. Or especially, I'm not sure how many people will ask in front of everybody too. So if you want to stick your email address in the chat, that'd probably be good as well. And then I'm going to move on to Evan is going to talk a little bit about finances. We're going to flip the script here a little and talk about something a little bit different, but finances are part of wellness as well. And I love a good finance presentation. I'm all about finances. I'm one of the FIRE people. I always try to, I'm trying so hard to retire early and pay everything off. We'll see if it actually happens. I need to be like Charity and write my dreams down. But I will turn it over to Evan. He is a wealth advisor at Old National Bank. And he also is a graduate from ISU. So another ISU graduate, another tree. And he's lived in Terre Haute for most of his life and is involved in several organizations and committees. So Evan, you're up.
Can you guys hear me okay? Cool. I called in on the phone, so it shows mute on my screen. I didn't trust it. My computer's given me some issues on Zoom before, so I'm on the landline. So you were looking for a quality financial discussion. You may be out of luck because you got me instead, but we'll see what we can do. So I'll tell you, I guess it's good to follow, a discussion on mental health. I mean, finances are a very important component of that. When I'm talking to my clients, potential clients, friends, family, people in general about finances, it's one of the leading stressors and relationship crushers that are out there. And I don't think it gets, talked about a whole lot. People think that, when it comes to finances, that they should have this great grasp of having all their ducks in a row and, turning on, CNBC and, looking at the stock tickers and, understanding what the 10-year treasury is and all this kind of stuff. And ultimately, personal finance and successful financial planning can really be simplified down a lot more than people make it out to be. And my role is important for people, but at the end of the day, I tend to be more of a kind of a quarterback and also a little bit more of a therapist in terms of just keeping people accountable to the discussions and the plans and the goals that they have and or want to have. And so, financial wellness has a dramatic impact, obviously, on your physical health, anxiety, depression, some of those other areas that kick in, a lot of those things. And I would assume that a lot of unfortunate, suicides and things like that are also a result of feeling like there's no way out potentially of a financial situation. So there are certain things that can be done to, either prevent, work through, and get out of those situations. And I'm not going to go into all of that stuff, but, there are resources to get help on those things. And like Jessica had mentioned, having different outlets or different resources, I'm not an expert on everything, but if I can be that person for anybody on this call in terms of a question or something that they might be embarrassed to ask or don't know where to find the answer, if I don't know it, I can find you a resource on that as well. So you don't know what you don't ask. And so, what I really wanted to focus on were just a couple of things that, myself, I'm not as young of a professional as I used to be, but some things that I've utilized in my daily life and that I talk to my younger clients about and to some of my clients that you would think have all of their ducks in a row in their 40s and 50s, and they sure as heck don't. But they do want to retire or, want to make some adjustments to things. The things that I talk to clients about, some of this has been for family members and good friends. Again, clients of mine that have got a lot of money, are going to inherit a lot of money and have nothing else, at all, but are just getting started. That can help maybe in some capacity. And there's a lot of resources that are out there, but I've just kind of tried to simplify it down a little bit. One of the biggest things that I talk to my clients about is budgeting, because they say, well, how much do I need to retire? And for all of us, that's a long ways down the road. But I usually don't have an answer of, you see, oh, you need to have $1 million or $1.5 million or this or that. Ultimately, you need to have enough to retire based off of what you will need to spend in retirement. And so if your house is paid off, your cars are paid off, your student loans are paid off, you didn't borrow 50 grand to send a kid to college, whatever the situation is, it's more about your expenditures than it sometimes is about a set number when you get to that point in time. Obviously, the more you have, the more flexible you might be when you retire, but it's not the catch-all. And so I talked to him about that. I talked to him about budgeting and how important budgeting is at every stage, whether it's for individual goals. I have 2 young boys, 5 and 3, and for us, my wife and I, both Sycamores, very affordable education, local education. And whether it's Ivy Tech, it's a trade school, it's ISU, it's Harvard, whatever it is, having some sort of goal in mind and plan in mind is important. And so we're saving for their college with a mindset and a goal of a certain dollar amount by the time they both reach their age to go to school. And that's different for everybody. But in our case, it was we wanted to have enough to cover 4 years of Indiana State off of what I think that's going to cost in, I guess that's 13 and 15 years from now, which will make me a lot older as well. But, so budgeting is important. And so I separate those things into 3 categories at the end of the day: things that you must pay, things that you think you must pay, and things that you spend and waste money on, which is okay. It's okay to get a cup of coffee, run through the drive-through, go to the climbing gym, the shooting range, whatever you're into. It's okay to have those things, but they're not stuff that at the end of the day you have to put into your budget. And so, things like your rent or your mortgage, your utilities, your taxes, your insurance, different things like that. You really don't have too many ways around those, unfortunately. And so breaking those things down and saying, I have to pay this rent, or I'm sleeping in my car, I have to make this car payment, or I'm crashing on somebody's couch. Those things are all areas that you want to account for, obviously. And so, again, rent or mortgage, car payment, about everybody has one. And if you don't, it's great. But that is a fairly common thing. If you have student loans, you got to pay them. If you have or you should have insurances, renters, homeowners, auto, if you have life insurance, things like that, stuff that if you don't pay them, they go away, and or you need to have them because you might get in trouble type stuff, then that's in one category. The next one, again, is, to what I call high-end needs or wants. Again, you live at home, you work from home like a lot of us have had to do over the past year. You got to have internet to do that. You probably need to have a phone, maybe not an iPhone 12, but you need to have one that works and does the trick. But, things like that, that you're probably going to need to have into your budget. Gas, groceries, again, things that might fluctuate a little bit, but they're still part of your daily and your weekly needs. Having that categorized as well. And then variable expenses, whether that's giving, entertainment, going out to eat, gym memberships, whatever the situation is, stuff that at the worst case of scenarios you could adjust if you had to as well. And so having all 3 of those, I use things on Excel because it's user friendly and easier to track and input, stuff. But You know, some people, I just have the clients that are older, just they write it down on paper and say, well, this is how much I spend here, here, and here. And then just take that, add it all up and say, okay, this is what I need, I think, to live on each month. See what you're making, take the difference, and if there's a positive gap, then good. And then you need to find out where the rest of it is that you're lying to yourself about that you're spending, because, you know, you go to Casey's and fill up the gas tank, but then you realize you spent $17 on Gardettos and lottery tickets and whatever. So, you know, that stuff happens to everybody. So you don't sometimes truly track everything that you spend because you don't think about it. But again, it's okay. That's human nature and that's normal. And you shouldn't just work to pay your bills and your taxes. It'd be pretty crummy if that was all that you did, because that's all that it feels like sometimes. So, you know, that's one thing, is having an idea, having a budget, knowing where you are on your expenses, and if you need to make adjustments or cuts. The next thing is to dig a little deeper and kind of see, okay, if I do have loans, car payment, mortgage, student loans, credit card, whatever the situation is, what kind of interest rates am I paying on those things? Is there an opportunity to pay less, you know, through a refinance of my mortgage or car payment, consolidation loan to get my credit cards in check, student loans, I've got private rates, and I can maybe refi those into something that's more appropriate at a half the rate, or different things like that. And that can be a real quick savings just in itself if you cut down on what you're paying towards interest every month. And then utilizing that to knock out the principal balances more quickly, or if you needed to build up an emergency fund or something like that, to redirect it to one of those areas. So, you know, looking at those things, and again, I'm not saying go to to any particular bank. You know, go to where you bank at, or talk to somebody that maybe you know that helps in the area of mortgage, or, you know, things like that, and just kind of take a review and see, okay, gosh, I'm paying 21% on my credit card, and I shouldn't be. You know, I'm just making a minimum payment. It's going to cost me $8,000 to pay off $1,200 of actual charged expenses and stuff like that. And so talking to somebody and kind of getting some of that figured out. And again, that's not uncommon to see at all life stages of the game. And sometimes the people that look the most in control of their finances from a vehicle, home, or apparel standpoint might be the ones that are the worst off. So that is not always, you know, something that you should look at from a status of who I should ask for help. My wealthiest client, I can't get her to spend money on anything. And she has more money than most of us could ever dream of. And part of the reason she has that much money is because she saved and saved and saved. But, you know, now I'm trying to get her to do the opposite and crack open the piggy bank a little bit to enjoy it. But anyway, so once you kind of review, you know, and say, what am I paying on? What are my rates? I mean, you know, you look at a mortgage over 30 years at 4% or 5%, you know, when you pay double what you actually finance your house for, you know, to buy that home. And so, again, that's because you didn't have the money to buy the house and the bank did. But if you can pay extra on that, get a lower rate, anything you can do to potentially save some money there is important and worth taking a look at. And knowing what the cost is, you know, or costs are to do those things, whether it's refinancing costs or loan origination fees and different things like that. You know, understanding just the basics on that stuff, or having somebody you know that does, it can go a long way. So I recommend you shop things like your car insurance, your property insurance. If you have life insurance, you know, stuff like that, you know, you may like your agent or this or that, but it doesn't hurt to ask, like, is there anything I could do to maybe get a better rate for the same coverage, or do I really need this type of coverage and things like that? And I bring that up. I just reshopped mine and saved like $500 between my auto and my homeowners. And the only reason I really didn't do it or want to do it was because I was going to be too lazy to do the paperwork. And I was like, yeah, it's probably worth $500. So, you know, it's potentially an option that's out there and something to look at every year, every 2 years. Could be a quick, you know, an easy little savings area as well. And so a couple of things that I kind of suggest for people as well are to have $1,000 emergency fund if you rent. you don't have to worry about the water heater, the roof, you know, different things like that, like you do if you own a home. But you may have to put new tires on your car, or a new water pump, or an alternator, or something that might happen that could, or an unexpected medical bill like an X-ray or something. And $1,000 should cover probably most of those things that might pop up in a normal daily situation. That keeps you from having to throw it on a credit card and potentially having to pay it back over time at a higher rate. If you own a home, you might want to think about somewhere in the range of $3,000 because again, that might cover a roof issue, heating and cooling, water heater goes out, you know, whatever the situation is. And it's a lot more stressful to think about a repair on your home when you don't have the money than it is if you do, because then you can just gripe about spending the money rather than like, where am I going to come up with it? So, and that's me. I gripe about spending it sometimes, even if I have it and or I know it's going to be an expense every year anyway. But just a couple of tidbits there that you know, to think about. So. And the last thing I kind of wanted to touch base on was with the retirement and, you know, kind of saving for later conversation. And at the end of the day, you know, if you have an advisor to talk to, it's great. But in the early stages, the biggest two things are to figure out, if you don't know what your company's match is, to find out what that is and save at least that much in your retirement account every month, every year. If your company does a profit share, where they don't necessarily match, but they just do like a once a year lump sum contribution or a bonus or different things, however they may phrase it, you know, then working through your budget will give you an idea of what you could potentially save, you know, towards retirement every month. Because at the end of the day, we all maybe like our jobs, but we probably don't want to do them forever, or your health will get to the point where you may not be able to, you know, if you're in a field that requires a lot of physical demand or cognitive demand for that matter too. That stuff could happen. But, you know, saving and being consistent in your savings, some sort of autopilot, you know, monthly, bi-monthly paycheck contribution. Don't go in and tweak it all the time. Don't say you're going to do it, just do it and set it up. And then don't log in every 3 days and check it. And don't look at your 401k balance every 3 days. Especially don't look at it when you see that the market was down, you know, because at the end of the day, if you're 20 years, 15 years, 30 years, whatever it is, what happens doesn't matter right now. It will later, and there's times to talk about that, but today it doesn't. And getting, you know, knee-jerk reactions and nervous about stuff just leads to, again, more anxiety, more depression, more worry, and a lot of stuff that is completely avoidable. And for me to carry for that person as their advisor, which last spring in 2020, when COVID hit, my stress level and anxiety level was up substantially when the market dropped 28% in a month. So, again, that's the stuff that, again, you don't think about and worry about those things, because if you're not going to touch it, guess what? It recovered in 6 months, 5 months. And, you know, again, I'm still 30 years away from needing it. So it's okay. So being consistent, picking something in your 401k, whether it's through a online platform that, you know, kind of helps you choose your investments, target date retirements, different things like that. At the end of the day, the key is to set it, contribute to it, and to not constantly throw it around and mess it up, because you will mess it up. It's just human nature for us to do those things. And so even as an advisor, every day I did the same thing. Do not go in and change stuff around. So those are the main things. And if somebody wants more details on stuff like that, then, you know, you can talk to somebody like myself, Ron, you know, maybe a friend of yours that you might know somewhere else. They're going to give you hopefully similar guidance on those things. So, you know, a couple of other tidbits and then I'm done. You know, understand how much you make versus how much you net. You know, you've got to pay your taxes, federal, state, FICA, health insurance, cafeteria plan expenses like your HSA or FSA or your vision and dental and all that stuff. So just understand there's a big difference. You make 50 grand, but you don't live on 50 grand, you know, not even close. So you can use something called Paycheck City, or there's a bunch of different websites that kind of can go in and they'll show you, okay, this is what I gross, but this is probably what I'm going to get, you know, what I net, and that's what the percentage is. And, you know, it can kind of help you with budgeting tools and stuff like that. Again, review your expenses at least once a year, just to understand your differences of again, what you gross and net. Make sure you're not overpaying for things, or there's something coming out that you don't even utilize anymore, like a Sirius radio subscription, or, you know, whatever the case is, because you might be spending money on things you don't even realize or remember that you signed up for. And or you just spend a lot of money on going out to eat and stuff like that. So review your debit credit statements, make sure charges and things are appropriate. You know, nothing's going on there that you didn't authorize, that kind of stuff. You know, make those payments on your obligations every month. Don't miss them, even if it's a minimum payment. It's key to your credit score and your financial well-being to make those payments. It's a huge component of your overall score calculation. And there are other things, but that's a big one that you can control, is at least pay the minimums on that stuff, hopefully more. So look at your medical options, your vision, your dental, look at that stuff every year seriously. It comes through during your open enrollment period, and a lot of people are like, oh, I'll just keep what I had last year. I did that the first year when we were pregnant, and I re-upped for a high deductible plan, and it kicked our rear when my son was born because we had to meet deductibles and all this stuff again, because my son was born in October, and then the next year to take him to a specialist, it was $400 instead of being on a PPO, when it would have been a $30 copay and stuff like that. So think about those things and review those things and talk to HR, and that's what those people are there for. Again, look at refinancing and consolidations and different interest rates that you pay on things, and if there are options to lower those rates and or look at alternatives to save yourself some money. The emergency fund, again, the $1,000 if you rent, the $3,000 if you own your house, as well. And that's some of the biggest stuff that I had. I had more that I could have talked about, but I'm going to shut up because I think I went long enough. And
You're fine.
I will share my information with anybody if they ever have a question. I'm always happy to give people advice if I can.
I felt personally attacked when you were talking about not checking your 401k every 3 days. I'm really bad about that. And I was specifically told by my 401k guy to not look at it after the market crashed. And I logged on that day and nearly had an aneurysm. But you were right. It did recover. Everything's fine now.
I didn't check mine. So I was down 28% in mine when I went back and looked at how bad the damage was. But I didn't check mine until July last year. After it started dropping in March, I just didn't look at it. I just kept contributing. And then I went back in about July and I thought, how bad was it? Because I knew I'd probably be back to even. And sure enough, I was. And then I didn't look at it again until the end of December. And so that's coming from a financial advisor. I was checking it like 2-3 times a year. So that's okay.
I'm getting better. Well, thank you very much, Evan. And just like with everybody else, does anybody have any questions before we move on to our last presenter? And if not, I think Evan said he was going to put his information in the chat, but it is very good to know. And then
there's a question in the chat. It says, do you have suggestions for where to open a Roth IRA?
The first thing I would look at is if you have a Roth K option in your plan through your job. If you do, that's great. I have one of those through Old National, and that's where I contribute first. If that isn't a route for you, you know, a Roth IRA, whether you do that through a local broker, through like an Edward Jones, you know, an Old National, you know, any of those types of platforms, that's an option to do it. You can also do it through a Schwab or you know, an Ameritrade or something like that if you're looking for self-management or something relatively basic. And so, you know, wherever you feel most comfortable, it'd be the answer that I would use. If you're face-to-face and you want somebody local, find somebody local. If you're okay and you know, a guru with online platforms, then you could probably do it somewhere through that, or open it up direct business with a mutual fund company, you know, like an American Funds or a Vanguard or something along those lines too. So that would be my suggestion: is you want in-person advice or do you want online advice? Would be kind of the way to look at it.
Thanks. I didn't see any other questions. Thanks for letting me know that, Lindsay. It's hard to see the chat on my phone. All right, so I'm going to move on to our last presenter, and she's going to do a fun meditation at the end too, but she's going to talk a little bit about meditation as well. We've got Danielle Bryan from she's a human connection activist. And then she also, do you own Illumination, or you just work for Illumination, Danielle?
I own it, yeah.
And so she owns Illumination Wellness. And this is why I put her last, because she graduated from Purdue instead of ISU. So it didn't fit in with everybody else. I'm just kidding. I will turn it over to Danielle, and she's going to talk a little bit about meditation, and then we're going to maybe do a fun meditation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mel. It's been so cool to hear from so many of you. The first reason is because I'm trying to get home to Indiana right now. I'm trying to get home to Terre Haute. I'm stuck in Austin, Texas. So I knew I was going to see you all today, and I was like, okay, right, they're going to help me like manifest getting home faster. I was supposed to be coming home Sunday, and here we are. So I was really excited to spend some time with you all. And, you know, I was living in Austin for about 4 years before I moved back to Terre Haute to bring the work that I'm doing now to this community that we're all a part of. So yeah, kind of like Mel said, I graduated from Purdue in 2010 and then kind of left Indiana right after that. I had a whole full career in horse racing throughout Oklahoma and Texas and California. Moved back to Indiana in 2015 as the Quarter Horse Racing Association director, and decided I wasn't ready for the winters yet. And so I left after like 5 months, moved back to Texas, and dove really deep into the work that I'm doing now, which started in personal training, physical transformation specifically for women, and since then has evolved into transformational coaching, working with the heart and the emotional intelligence of the heart, meditation, yoga, movement, and I also lead retreats and transformational experiences. So really big on retreats, and I've done probably 20 now all over the world. And I know, at least with Indiana women, I've been hearing a lot, you know, they haven't had a lot of access to retreats or going on adventures that are rooted in self-love and self-care. And so I'm really excited to connect with more of you, because you are all leaders in this community, especially in wellness, because, you know, where I came from in Austin, Texas, there are lots of healthy people and they take very good care of their body, and there's yoga studios, there's access to a lot more tools. And so I see all of you as leaders who are giving really powerful tools to your clients, to the community. And I only think we can, when we work together, we're so much stronger. So I wanted to just kind of speak on meditation today, and speak on kind of an up level to meditation, which is my new passion, and what I'm sharing a lot is breath work. And so first, I would love to know who here has a meditation practice. Like, you have a practice, like anybody have a practice they love? Okay, and that's totally cool. So anybody want to comment in the chat, why not? Why don't you have a meditation practice? Do you not see the benefits? Is it too hard? Does your mind race all the time? You not have the time? What is it for you? If you could really speak, I don't know much about it, have trouble shutting down. Yeah. Haven't made it a habit. She loves it too, maniac kids. Yes. Perfect. Yeah. And so it's always just so good to speak about, like, okay, if I don't have a meditation practice, you know, what's the why? We hear a lot, especially in the mental health arena and the physical health arena, just how impactful meditation is. And part of how I like to deliver it is, I think sometimes there's a stigma, like in the meditation or the yoga space, you have to be like, you know, dressed like you just came off of the Himalayas and, you know, wearing the malas and the crystals. But really, like, meditation and breath is for the high achieving passionate, driven leader. And that's the angle I really love to take with it. And you don't have to dress a certain way or be a certain type of person to use these techniques. The thing that really got me started on meditation was a Tim Ferriss. Does anybody know Tim Ferriss? I feel you fingers. Okay, some of you do. Tim Ferriss had a statistic that he gave where 90% of the top 10% high performers, entrepreneurs, business people in the world have a solid meditation practice that they use. So that for me was enough to be like, all right, there's something here. And so when we look at a meditation practice, the why that we do it is truly because we want to figure out what's going on up here, right? We want to figure out, as Jessica spoke to, the organ of the brain, the mind, which the mind is just what the brain is doing. We start a meditation practice so we can get a relationship with that. Many of us were kind of like socialized to look outside of ourselves for affirmations, for information, for love, acceptance, and meditation is a tool that will always teach you how to come back to yourself and connect to yourself. That's how it's changed my life and the life of so many that kind of have stepped onto this path. And it's really not about clearing the mind. I want to speak to a couple of you said like trouble shutting down the mind, turning down the volume in my mind. Yeah, that's so many of us have that. And so it's not really about clearing the thoughts. It's about the relationship that we have with the thoughts and what they are. And the even deeper work is working with those thoughts and the subconscious programming, which I could go so deep into so many of these layers. But I think for today, if we could look at it really simply, and we could look at it as simply as the stress response. And Jessica knows this little tidbit, the stress response. Who here has stress in your life? Stress, one hand, two hand, like we all have stress that is coming into our experience. And, oftentimes we can do things like work out, we can do things like go on a walk. Sometimes there are other ways that we cope with stress. But over time, if we're not actually being with the stress, if we're not actually sitting with ourself, and we just keep going and going and going and then fall asleep and then go and fall asleep, then you're not actually clearing any of the stress out of the body. And that's how things like swings of anxiety could come through, or heart starting to race, just kind of like compiling the stress over time. So I like to think of my meditation practice as like taking my stress through like the washing machine and just like sitting with it, being with it, breathing into it. So I'll speak to the breath, and then we're going to have an actual experience together, which I'm really excited we get to do. And I want to honor everyone's time too. So when we talk about the breath specifically for stress response, when we're living in stress or when we're experiencing stress, usually we're just breathing from the top part of our lungs, diaphragmatic breathing from the top of our lungs up. So you can even test right now if you sit up tall in your chair and place your hand on your belly. So if you sit up tall and give it a try, see if you can breathe in and breathe all the way to where you push your belly out with your hand. So let's take a big breath in together. And see if you can push your belly all the way out, and then exhale, let it go. Do that again one more time. See if you can breathe even deeper. Inhale. And let it go. Nice. So you can kind of feel it, right? Like when you try and push it down there, does it feel a little tight? You can always type in the chat what you felt. But oftentimes we're not training our body physiologically to take deeper breaths. We're just not thinking about it through our day. So that's why It can be really easy to get caught in this shallow breathing state. And so why we do breath work is to literally train our body to naturally just take deeper breaths more of the time. Why would you want to take deeper breaths more of the time? It is what calms your body down and lets your body know that it's safe. Why do you think when you're freaking out or somebody's freaking out, they're like, take a deep breath, right? Or when a woman's having a baby, why there's so much emphasis on the breath, right? And so you can look at this mechanism that we've been given, and it's so simple, but a breath work practice can very, very quickly start to train your body when you're in a stressful situation to naturally down regulate. You know, when like a stressful thing comes up and you could go one direction or the other with it. You could go, you know, major stressed out, or you could go calm. That's a physiological response that your body is having. So, and I can only speak to it because I've seen it within myself. I was somebody who the smallest things would trigger me and make me go off, send me off, get me in my head, you know, just turn me down these things. And now, like, you know, I take women in the jungle of Costa Rica and something always happens, right? Something always goes crazy. And like the van gets stuck on a jungle mountain, and how I can show up in that is way more calm than I ever would have been able to if I didn't have a relationship with my breath. So I just want to give that to you guys today. The other like little piece, if this interests you at all, I would love for you guys to look at on YouTube even, is a man named Wim Hof, WIMHOF, especially for the men. He's really a pioneer in the breath work world. He's done some incredible feats. And, you know, when we talk about longevity, vitality, there's so much oxygen comes and connects to. When we look at the capital C word that's going around, the big illness, right? What does it mainly affect? Lungs, respiratory. And so really strengthening your respiratory system now, like, can only benefit you, right? With breaths. So we're going to do the experience. We're just going to do a quick one. There are just like thousands of types of meditations and thousands of types of breath. You can do breath work for your digestion, for stress, for excitement, for relaxation, all sorts of things. The one I want to do today is because you all are leaders and you all are leaders in our community. I want to show you a technique that is really great for mind regulation and just kind of landing before a meeting, before you got to finish your day. This is called alternate nostril breathing. Has anybody done alternate nostril breathing before? Cool. No, okay, cool. So this technique is awesome because what we're going to do, we're going to be breathing like through our nostrils. Does anybody have a super stuffy nose? Can you breathe out of both of your nostrils? You kind of, okay. Lindsay, if it's too stuffy, just breathe out of your mouth. Okay, don't worry. But many high performers use this technique, many yogis use this technique, and what it does is it gets your brain in balance. So the right side of your brain is your creative brain, right? Your brain that can think in abstract, can think of, you know, ideas that are, you know, not concrete. It's your more creative brain. Your left side of your brain is your more logical brain, your more linear brain, like your focused kind of brain. And so you can use this technique if you feel like your head's too far up in the clouds, or if you feel like you're being too analytical, to come right back to balance. And that's really why I love it. So what we're gonna do, and you guys are all in a place, so no worry, there's no judgment. Some of the breath techniques can get a little weird, but I didn't wanna like scare you guys this first time. So this time, all we're gonna do, we're just using our hands. And you guys can turn your camera off if you'd like. I would love to be able to see you. So if I can see you, that would be great. We're going to use our right hand. Okay, so our right hand, our right thumb, weirdness welcome. Our right thumb is going to go over our right nostril, and then our right middle finger is going to go over our left nostril. All right, and so your hand can just be loosely over your nose, sit up nice and tall. And take a breath in through both of your nostrils. And exhale, sigh it out your mouth. Good. Now with your thumb, plug your right nostril, inhale through the left. Hold, plug the left, and exhale through the right. Good. Inhale through the right. Plug, and exhale left. You can close your eyes now if that feels okay. Inhale through the left. Good. Plug, exhale right. Inhale right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Exhale right. Good. Just a couple more. Inhale right. Exhale left. And go for just a couple more rounds on your own breath. Keep your eyes closed. Just a couple of rounds with you guiding your own breath. Maybe feel for an extra long inhale and exhale. Good. Then you can slowly let your hand come down to your lap, keeping your eyes closed if that feels okay. And take a big breath in through your nose. Hold it at the very top. Sip in a little bit more air. And exhale, sigh it out. And then just breathing in and out of your nose for this last minute. Just let your breath travel in and out of your nose as we end this call, as we end this gathering. So much was shared. You showed up. You continue to show up. So just breathe into your body and see if your shoulders can relax just a little bit. And see if as you breathe, your stomach can relax just a little bit. See if as you breathe, your arms all the way to your fingertips can relax. See if your hips can relax. Your legs all the way to your toes. And your face. All of your body just allowed to relax right here before you go back out into your evening. Right here for these last few breaths. Gathered together. And all together, let's take a really big deep breath in through our nose. Hold it at the top and exhale, just let it go. Good. And whenever you're ready, you can blink your eyes open. Take a look at the little squares of people that you get to do this incredible work with in Terre Haute. All these new friends. Well, you all are new friends to me. So thank you. How did that feel?
I feel relaxed.
Good, good, refreshing, lovely, great. Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you,
Thank
Danielle.
you. Yeah, thank you all so much.
How many of you have never done meditation before? Ever? you already asked that? I feel like there's a lot of people that just were real uncomfortable for a second. Something. That's how
That's
I
the
felt.
best for me. I'm best hanging out with you guys in the discomfort. It is not comfortable at first at all. And it's not designed to be, right? So good job leaning into the discomfort. Yeah, thank you.
So I'm going to try to be respectful of everybody's time, and we did go over a little, but if you guys want to hang out for a few minutes and ask questions, there's like 3 minutes that we can probably have to get to what, 5:10? I don't know if my clock's right. I'm not sure if I'm looking at the right clock. Does anybody have any questions about anything? I think everybody's probably ready to get home. I'd like to thank all the presenters again. Everything was very informative. I think it went very well, and there's a lot of information. And I think a lot of people learned some stuff. So that was nice. We'll go ahead and end the meeting. I don't